Hi, Kate. How are ya?
I'm good. Psyched to be with you.
Oh, so good to be with you. It's been a little while since we connected, so thank you so much. Kate Williams, CEO of 1% for the Planet. It is an honor to have you here as part of our annual Earth Day festival in Santa Barbara, so welcome.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Right on. So let's get right into it. Talk to us. What is 1% for the Planet?
1% for the Planet is a global movement, a global community of businesses and individuals who are committing to give back their 1%. So, in the case of businesses, they're giving 1% of annual sales to environmental nonprofits. And I want to emphasize it's 1% of sales. So, it's a big number, it's a real number, it's a number that businesses commit to every year. And in the case of individuals, they're committing essentially the 1% that they identify. We don't check tax returns or anything on that, but it's about making a commitment and then having that opportunity to join a community and be held accountable. And together, this community is driving real positive change. So by giving back to environmental nonprofits globally, our members are saving acres of land. They're addressing, some of the underlying issues that might, lead to more wildfires or mudslides or things like that. They're protecting habitat. They're supporting communities that are vulnerable to the impacts of climate change. I mean, I could go on and on. I could spend our whole time talking about that, but it's really amazing because it creates a way for businesses to develop their own strategies for giving that are meaningful to them, and from a values standpoint, but also align with their business objectives. And individuals, are able to get support in picking value aligned nonprofits to give to. And then lastly, I'll just say it's an amazing community. So doing something together as opposed to doing it alone not only creates more impact, but it also creates a lot more learning, a lot more fun, and really just that power of doing something together. I actually feel like the dollars given are worth more when they come out of this collective community. So it's powerful.
And you said something that I've been thinking a lot about, right? We always talk about the power of one, which there is power in that, but there's also power, potentially more power in the collective. And I think that's exactly right. When you bring all these businesses together, it's a powerful, one becomes a powerful number and it's amplified. So, I wanted to ask you though, you mentioned this is a global movement. Um, and my understanding from what you and I talked about previously is that you had a great year of growth. And I'd love for you to just mention, what some of the numbers look like. How many business members are part of the global movement? How was your last year? It's been a crazy year, 20 into 21. So how have things been going?
Yeah, this time last year, I would not have expected to be sitting here this year telling the story of a year that really was remarkable. And so where we are now is our network of business members is more than 4,000 members, and that's in changes a little bit kind of every day, but we're in about 65 countries, giving to more than 4,000 nonprofits who are probably in about the same number of countries. So we're truly an international network. So right now we're more than 50% international, actually. And last year, so each year we're certifying the giving from the prior year. So last year we certified more than $30 million in giving, which is our highest number to date. And that's really the most important number because that's the so what, that's the impact. And what I really love about that number is what it sort of points out about the 1% community. And that is that, whether you're the smallest member, and your 1% is just a little bit, or you're the biggest member and your 1% is a lot, you have the same claim on that 30 million, because it's a shared number and everyone has built it by giving their 1%. So back to what you were saying about the power of the collective, that number represents the power of the collective because while the specific numbers vary, everyone is doing their part to the same extent, and that's super powerful. And so like when we gather our community or when our community is connecting amongst themselves, and there's a lot of that, it's all these equal players, even though they might be in different industries of different sizes. Some are individuals, some are businesses, but everyone's in it together. And together, those numbers do indicate that it's driving really positive, big change.
And just, I want to make sure I heard that right, so our listeners hear that right. That was $30 million in giving from businesses to the 1% for the Planet nonprofit community. last year.
That is correct. And thanks
That
for
is correct.
emphasizing that, because I do want to make sure that people really understand it's not coming to 1% for the planet. Businesses give directly to the environmental nonprofits. We help them. That's a lot of our work, is helping people to understand how their giving can be strategic, and for businesses can be brand aligned and can really be a way that they either address business solutions or problems or tell their brand story or all of the above. Um, but the giving happens directly. So there are these really powerful partnerships that happen between our businesses and the nonprofits that they're giving to. And that's a really important part of our model too, is it's not, we're not a foundation. It doesn't pass through us and then the businesses are kind of one step removed. Like they're right in there with it, with the nonprofits. So they're doing volunteer work with them. They're getting to know the nonprofits. And so there are these really great relationships, which is another really core piece of our model.
Fantastic. So, when you and I were working together, because we've worked together, we've known each other for quite a long time, and a couple of years ago, LOACOM, my company, which is also 1% for the Planet member, we were working with 1% on your global summit. Um, this was in 2019, end of 2019, and then going into 2020. At that time, just to harken back for those of us who can forget these things as often as they're happening, as frequently as they're happening, Australia was a continent on fire. The Amazon basin was burning. Our rainforests were burning. California and communities around the region of the west coast of the United States were on fire. There was drought. There were floods all over the globe. Things were happening, and it seems like they're increasingly happening from a climate emergency perspective. And then just a couple months later in 2020, we got hit with the pandemic. And then a couple of months later, we had a very big and important, I would say, critical racial justice reckoning, as a country at least, which has continued to grow. And so I want to frame those things because I think they're important to how we respond as a people, as a society, and then particularly here in this conversation as a conservation community. And I'd like to give you the opportunity to just speak to any one of those things or all of them. um, has there been a way that you've seen the 1% for the planet business community respond to any one of those things? Have there been some campaigns or some specific movements that you've seen really start to gain some traction, because traction is required? So, kind of an open ended question, but you can pick and choose where you'd like.
Yeah, it's a great question. And it definitely makes me sort of feel like, oh, back in the day, before this time last year when we were, different era, it seems. But you're right to like connect the dots, because what has kind of remained the same is that there are these crises that, keep popping up. And I would say the 1% for the planet business community is amazing in the sense that it's a real learning community. So, people may have been giving to issue X, but then they learn about the fires in Australia and they're like, well, wait a second, like we have to care about that. And so without, they're not just being flighty, but they're saying like, what are we learning from the world around us and how do we shift our priorities? And so one of the things that we hear from members a lot when, fires, pandemic, hurricanes, racial uprising, like all of those things, we are communicating with our members and hearing like, how does this tie to environmental giving? Like, how can my 1% be a way in which I drive change in these areas? And those have been really, really important learning conversations, with our members, learning on both sides. And I would say in all cases, one of the things that we've been able to do is, and we being the whole community, not just 1% for the planet, but us with our members, is just continue to refine and build our understanding of what environmental giving means. So, in the case of the pandemic, like how can environmental giving address that? And so we, last year when the pandemic hit, we had a lot of conversations with members about like, I want my 1% to, be able to address this. And so we did some research and, worked with different members and nonprofits and found some nonprofits working in areas around like wildlife trade and things like that, that were, understood to be related to how pandemics can spread. And so there was a lot of great giving that was able to go there. In the case of, the racial uprisings and greater awareness of racial equity issues that are, run very deep in the environmental movement, it was a really powerful moment of reckoning. I think that's a good way to say it. And, our team and the larger community, has continued, but I think it really accelerated over last summer to focus on like, how can our environmental philanthropy, not be continuing some of the issues that are have perpetuated some of the racism in our systems, but start to really build towards solutions where we're connecting environmental and social issues. So we built a new understanding of environmental justice. We provided information for our members around environmental justice nonprofits that they could do giving to, and actually did some of that information has been extremely popular when we just look at sort of how people are spending their time on our website. So our work in that area continues for sure, and we have a lot to learn, but it's been really great progress there. And then one of the things we've been working on as a team is just to get quicker, so when there are fires, when there are floods, when there are those flashpoints, that kind of because we're human, are the moments when we often are able to sort of focus our attention differently. So we've realized like our ability to sort of respond quickly with clarity around here's how environmental giving can be part of how you can respond, has been really important. So we've tried to just get better and better at that. So all in all, a ton of learning, and it's mutual learning with positive pressure from our members, that we can then also contribute to.
So, what are there any ways that 1% is really kind of either spearheading campaigns for on behalf of, or not on behalf of, but offering campaigns that are opportunities for businesses or assortments of businesses to tap into? Kind of what's the strategy going forward? You kind of mentioned a rapid response. Just how do we always stay prepared
Mhm.
as things arise? But then it feels like there's also some kind of consistent thread that you want to have running through all of your work. So, are there any opportunities coming up that y'all are working on? Is 1% spearheading any campaigns? Are you leaving it to the members to decide? How is that feathering out over the next 12 months or beyond?
Yeah, that's a huge question. But but it's a great one. So, and I think it's a both and response. So, the 1% for the planet model is inherently set up to have both a point of view. We believe in the power of environmental philanthropy, and we believe that it's a really important tool that businesses can use as a way to drive impact. And we believe that there's a lot of opportunity and importance in customization. So for each member to be developing their giving strategy that is tied to their passion and the impact that they want to drive. And so those two together really set us up to have our the primary campaign is always just our model, because each member bringing to life their giving, their passion, the way in which they're driving impact through their 1%, in the ways that are, they may have different inflection points in their year. And those are the important times to, to bring that forward. At the same time, when there's a larger moment that happens, either one that we know about, so like Earth Day, there's a million wonderful things happening. And that's, usually a great time when a lot of our members sort of do, come out around their 1%. But then also like when things like we were just talking about, floods and fires and like other types of biblical events happen, that's when we also get that, again, sort of human opportunity to respond and to come together. And those are important moments too, where we do try and create a sort of center post around like how giving can be a part of that. So we don't have for this year like specific, like on this date we're launching this campaign, because really we are seeing the value of setting up our members to really double down on that like point of view around the power of giving, and the power of giving in a way that's really aligned with your model and or with your beliefs and passions, and the sort of moments in your sphere.
Excellent. So, that makes a lot of sense, and I feel like that's really being true to your model. So thank you for articulating that. Um, I believe next year is your 20th anniversary.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. Congratulations on that big accomplishment. Um, what happens? What happens now? And where are we going? And how can other people plug in? We have a few minutes left to talk about how we bring other businesses, particularly, and just the community at large into your movement. You're 20 years old. Um, how do we do that? What do we do?
Yeah. Awesome question. And, I think really, the growth that we have seen that's driving more giving a big thing that we're looking to do is really to continue that growth and momentum. We are a model where growth equates directly to impact. More members doing more, drives more giving, and that's powerful. Excuse me. We also, do really want to create those greater opportunities for our members to come together. So, over this past year, when we were all getting better at being virtual, I think we learned some good skills. So, as a global community, creating ways that we can have steering committees and learning sessions that bring members together across both in regions, but also across different communities, that's important to us. So, we are doing more sort of virtual events and virtual opportunities. We do, starting in our 20th year, look forward to getting back together in person. We'll have our big global summit, so we're excited about that, and that should be a great time for a lot of our members to come together. So really, continuing the power of our model and continuing to bring more businesses and individuals. I mentioned them up front, and I want to say again that like our individual member program is a really powerful way to engage. We're doing a giving circle. We have some really exciting ways that you can give that really take a lot of the kind of guesswork out of it. So if you're feeling overwhelmed about like, what do I do for the planet? We have some great ways to solve for that. So we have a lot coming in terms of, how we're growing. But the beauty of 1% for the planet is, it's not about sort of changing or new bells and whistles. It's about growing as a community. And through that community, we have so many opportunities to redefine environmental giving as we learn more about sort of how environmental justice fits in. We have opportunities to learn from each other about how to become more sustainable across all of our practice, not just our giving. The list goes on, but we're pretty excited about the opportunity to just continue to expand our amazing community.
Right on. Well, I am honored and proud to say that LOACOM has been a 1% member since 2014. We on the south central coast of California, we know we're joined by a bunch of other 1% members. We know California is a strong 1% for the planet contributor. We play a big role in your global membership base. So I'm very stoked to be able to be a part of that. And just want to shout out your website is www.1percentfortheplanet.org. Now's the time for businesses to step up, join LOACOM, join all of our friends and neighbors in supporting 1% for the planet. And I think it's important to say that the Community Environmental Council, who is hosting this Earth Day celebration and all of the previous ones in Santa Barbara, is a nonprofit member of 1% for the planet. So just wanted to give that little plug. Kate Williams, CEO of 1% for the planet, thank you so much for taking this time. We love you guys. We love the work you're doing, and it's just good to see you growing and doing great things.
Well, we love you back, and thanks so much for this great opportunity to talk.
All right. Thanks so much. Take care.
Thanks.